Chaya. Eleanor, you hear me?
I do. Do you hear me?
I hear you. I see you. We're live.
Oh my goodness gracious. Gott sei Danken.
It really is that
Viva lebt noch.
it's a very fickle beast, Facebook.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but then it just springs upon you, and here we are, live.
Sometimes for good, sometimes for evil.
Yes, very much so. It's 11:59, but we're gonna begin.
Okay.
We'll begin, and people will arrive, and also will it'll be recorded too, so we'll be able to share it afterwards.
Okay. Great.
Welcome to a Rabbi and a Tony-nominated director walk into a Zoom. I'm so privileged to. You can't be crying already.
No, I'm not crying. I'm just wiping the crying from before.
I'm so privileged to be able to schmooze for the next little bit with such a soulful Tief artist and family friend, Eleanor Reissa. Eleanor, what's your Yiddish? What's your Yiddish namen?
Alterische.
Alterische.
Yeah, Alterische, and my real name. You know, I feel like part of what this virus has done and this isolation has done is I'm outing myself. I'm outing my real name. I'm outing my real hair color. I don't want you to think I don't have hair color. I do. I'm choosing to see who I am. I don't have to pretend to be what I'm not. So anyway, Alterische Schlüsselberg.
Wow.
That's correct.
Who are you named? You named after someone?
I'm named after my father's mother, Alterische. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's Rische mean?
I'm not sure. They used to say Alterusche. You know, they used to say that I was that, but I don't know.
Yeah. Where are you from?
I'm from Brooklyn, New York, born in Bethel Hospital, and I lived in East New York. That was the first area that I lived in. My parents came to America in 1949/1950, and I was born 10 or 20 years later.
Wow.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Your parents came to America together?
No, my mother came in 49 and my father came in 50. They were not yet married. They were dating or whatever it was that people did at that time.
Got it. They were survivors.
They were survivors, my father from Auschwitz and my mother from Uzbekistan. You know, they fled east when the pact with Hitler and Russia fell apart. They fled east and stayed in Uzbekistan until 45, and then they went to Ulm and were in a DP camp there. And my father, after Auschwitz, after the death march, went back to Stuttgart, where he had been living before the war, and that's where they met.
How do you know those details?
I learned a lot of those details over the last 3 years. I didn't really know any of those details.
It wasn't talked about growing up?
No, there were photos. There were certainly photos, and indeed photos mostly about those who are no longer here. This one is not here, this one is not here. this was so-and-so, that was so-and-so. But I went back to Germany in 2018, and I found a lot of information there.
Through your own archival research?
Through my own archival research that was enormously assisted by others. Because I'm not sure if you know this, Avram, I'm really not a fact-based person. No,
What does that mean?
Well,
That's
it means
a dangerous thing to say in 2020.
it is. No, yes, forgive me, but I'll admit it. Do you know what I mean? I admit that I don't know the facts. I'm just an impressionistic person. But I declare myself.
Right.
Absolutely.
You're honest.
I'm honest. I'm an honest, non-fact-based person. Yeah. I just don't remember stuff. It's more like that.
But it's very detailed what you just shared about your own parents meeting and where they were and how they traveled. And
I have the details now. And once I have the details, I'll never forget them. I know now. I didn't know. It was vague. It was presented vaguely, and I accepted it vaguely, and I had impressions of what it was. No more. I know now.
What was it like as a kid to look through family photographs with parent, and when they say, oh, this one's not here anymore, this one's not here anymore, this, like,
it was sad. I mean, it was sad. I mean, it's hard to remember because it was a few years ago.
Do you remember when your parents started telling you about the war, or telling you about the Haim?
No, I mean, about the Haim, really, they just said that everybody was an anti-Semite always, that the war was nothing new. And that was, I mean, and they who were, my mother especially, who lived in Poland, had a special place in her heart for the anti-Semitic Poles. My father was in Germany since after World War I. He was old. He was very old. He was 20 years older than my mother, but he loved Germany. Always loved Germany. So anyway, the long and short is I found these letters when my mother died in 1986 that I finally had translated in 2018. You can ask me why it took so long, and that'll be a whole other program. But a lot of information is in there. And then I pulled the thread on those letters and went to Germany. And there were people who helped me, who I was just going to go see his house. Is the house still there? I'll go to this place where they took the picture in Ulm. I'll find that. It was really, baby stuff that I was pursuing. But when I mentioned to certain people what I was doing, they said, well, give me your parents' names and their dates and places of birth, and let's see what we can find. And the earth opened up.
Wow. It feels like a book.
It's a book.
It's a book.
It's a book. I recently got an agent, and she's sending it out to publishers now.
Wow.
It's a book. Yeah, I've been working on it for the last 3 years.
And so what was life like growing up in Brooklyn?
It was I was latchkey. Both of my parents worked in various sweatshops, and it was very multi-ethnic, very Black, Hispanic, Jewish, Italian.
You spoke Yiddish at home?
I spoke Yiddish at home, but an Americana Yiddish, yeah. And I had a Baba Zaida, which we called Zaida at that time until my Yiddish was improved by your father. So I was with them a lot. They were religious, not wacky religious, just Balabatish religious.
Whose side of the family?
My mother's.
Your mother's.
Yeah. He was a butcher. She was a butcherke. So life was fun. I mean, we played in the street. We played in the schoolyard. We played in the street. We ran around. Nobody drove. There was no car, and we were the transportation in East New York is kind of lousy. So we were neighborhood based, and my memories from then are very positive. We were, lower middle class or upper lower class. It didn't seem to matter. There was plenty of food. It was like imagination time. We would take rubber bands and make a jump rope. I mean, it was, the tops of soda bottles and make a game. Everything was a game, easy to do. And I spent a lot of years, most of my years in the Catskills with my grandparents every summer. So that was another fabulous thing. And it was a world filled with green.
What is that? What did that look like? Sound like?
I mean, I found myself always wanting to listen. I found myself always wanting to be around them and getting just listening and being a fly around them. I liked it a lot. They played cards. They just sat, geraket and gebaket, like David Crockett. So they were lovely people, always feeding us, me. It was very warm. It was very warm. And so that's where my interest in Yiddish kept up from them, from wanting to be in their world.
What were you performing as a kid?
Just the bungalow colony had like an amateur hour, and they had a clubhouse and a microphone that projected whatever you would do to the grounds of the bungalow colony. And this guy, Leo Letterman, I say his name only because I've been looking for him and I'm just mentioning it. So I would sing on, Oh My Papa, which I still sing. And Fernando's Hideaway, which I don't sing. And my mother used to send me for ballet lessons very early for a long time. So while she worked, it was kind of the daycare. That's where I would go for ballet. But there was no performing until college days.
Where did you go to college?
Brooklyn College, $53 a semester and worth every penny.
What? $53?
$53 a semester. So my entire education, cost me, I used to be a math major, but clearly that didn't work. But so it was like $500 for my whole college education.
And that's where you started performing?
During that time I started performing. It was a very political time. And I found myself involved with a political street theater group called Mass Transit Street Theater. And I started doing stuff with them because it was Vietnam time. It was just post Roe v. Wade time, women's movement, Black liberation, things that it's shocking to me that we're still struggling with, shocking. But that's my interest in theater was political. It was not a career. They didn't have careers in the 70s when I went to school, unless you were going to be a doctor or a lawyer. There was, you got a job. It was not a career.
Right.
No.
And so how did that translate into the art or into the performance work that you were doing? What was the political sort of milieu?
Well, I mean, that particular group, Mass Transit Street Theater, was based in the Bronx, and we would do free community theater in the street. Rent Strike, that was maybe the name of one of the pieces, not really, but it was all based on action, trying to dramatize community action.
And it was multi-ethnic?
It was multi-ethnic, mostly white, but some few Hispanicos and a few blacks, hardly any. But it was well-intentioned lefties.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What did your parents make of it?
Well, I mean, my parents were divorced. I left home when I was 17, B, and my father died in 1976, C, and to my mother, I was already verloren. I was a lost cause to her. She loved me. I saw her, but I don't even think she knew I did that. I did used to get occasionally thrown out of the Seders on Pesach because it always turned into a political argument with my beloved uncle, who, it was the Black Panther time, and that frightened people, white people. And so we fought about it a lot. I cried then too. And but I fought. I fought but wept. Like now. But I fight less and just weep more.
So how old were you when your father died?
Well, then did I say what year he died?
What did you say, 76 just now?
So I can't say.
Oh, you can't say, okay.
No, I'm outing. Here's the deal, Avram. I am outing myself at this time of Corona. So this is my hair color, whatever, but I can't yet go down age road, even though I'm a parent, old.
Okay.
But I was too young when he died. He died, and then my mother died 10 years later in 86. So I can only say that for almost half my life, I haven't had a parent, which mostly is lousy. And there are moments when it's less lousy because I'm free from their judgment or pressure, even though it's been a struggle to free myself. Even though they're dead forever, I still hear them loud and clear, for better and for worse.
Your elusiveness around age reminds me of Minna Byrne.
I am the next Minna Byrne. That's how I feel. I feel like I'm the next tip of that iceberg. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, but
you were close with Minna, though. Yes,
I was. Yes, I loved Minna very much.
She had I'm trying to remember at her levaya, because I remember you spoke at her funeral. Yes,
I forgot that I spoke, actually.
How did you meet her?
Oh goodness, I mean, I was doing Yiddish theater, and I made a tiny splash in the early days because I had just been in the chorus. That was my experience in the Yiddish theater, was being in the chorus at Town Hall in Mary Stuart plays that she was the star, and she is quite a talented talent. I mean, an abundance of talent. And I learned a lot from her. And we were supposed to go on tour, and Mary got sick, and I took over the lead. And that kind of put me on the Yiddish theater map. And so Mina had heard about me and offered me a job with her and Ben Bonus, her husband, in, I think, live and be well in Yiddish, or I really don't remember, I'm afraid. And I did some shows with her. I think it was at Norman Thomas High School. But yeah, that's how I met her. And knew her ever since, from then until she died, which was a long time.
It's in a type of like mother-daughter type of dynamic.
No,
no,
not. I hear people say Mama Mina, and I think, Mama Mina, who dat? I don't know Mama Mina. She was never, first of all, I didn't need another mama. Frankly, I had one and it was enough. I'd say positively ... No, positively, period.
Yeah.
But so I didn't need Mina to be a mother. Mina was my friend. Mina, we were friends. We advised one another. She hired me then, but I hired her more than she hired me. We were friends and colleagues, theater colleagues, partners. That's what we were.
Do you I guess I'm curious, like, of the piece, the Yiddish world that you sort of fell into, but also very much like came out, grew up in and came out of, is like, was, I guess, what, for you, when you were first looking for work, when as a young, like, performer, was it just whatever gig you might be able to find? Or,
yeah. I was working in English. I was working in English. My father was in a nursing home already at that time, and I did sing with a pianist, a fellow who's not around anymore, Gene Hicks, in the nursing home, but just to entertain my father. I didn't sing at that time. My mother didn't like my singing, so I didn't think I could sing. And
she told you she didn't like your singing?
Yeah.
The
pieshchis. Yeah. No, it was, Lucille Ball's daughter could do it, but it was never anything that she, ultimately, by the time she died, she had gotten some small bit of nachas from my work, but it was not an encouraging situation. But I forgot what you asked me about the Yiddish theater.
Work, with the work that you were drawn to.
Yeah, I wasn't, every week you got a copy of Backstage, this newspaper that listed auditions for the week. And wherever I thought I had the slightest shot in hell, I would go and audition. And this was for Rebecca the Rabbi's Daughter, a town hall starring Mary. And I went and got it. And it was the smallest part in the chorus. And Razel Buzik, Carol Latovich, Shifra Lera. It was Yankala Alper and David Carey. It was great. And my part was small, and I watched them every night. I went up to the balcony at Town Hall and just watched and learned a lot. Yeah, but I didn't, it was right foot, left foot. One job, this job ends, find a new job, this job ends. There was no plan. I didn't think, my sights were small.
But that, and as you're looking back, it sounds like that was a pivotal moment.
It was a pivotal moment. And then Mary came back. I mean, I played the lead for about a month, and it was the first time I'd ever played a lead in anything. And I'll tell you that playing a lead is easier than playing a small part. Every entrance, everything is for the lead. You set up the lead, you welcome the lead. The lead has the best lines and the best tunes, and was hard to go back. And fortunately, I got a job in a Michael Weller play in English. And so I didn't have to be in the chorus anymore. And I consequently played again with Mary a number of times, but never a time, nicer parts.
Mm-hmm.
But it changed things.
And you studied math at Brooklyn College?
That's right. I think laughing is the right response.
It's curious.
I loved it. I loved math in high school. I loved it. Yeah. And that's what I thought. The arts were never in my line of vision. Never. No, maybe political science, law, something. I mean, but it was math until I had a calculus
exam. Right.
And then I had to find another area of interest.
So what's another moment that stands out to you as you look at your career and you think back to you say left foot, right foot, but I imagine also now there are moments that led to one in terms of one direction versus another. No?
I mean, it's been such a long, it's been such a long life and such a boatload of stuff, and everything was frightening because I learned what I learned as I learned it.
Right, you didn't learn it in math class, and
I didn't go to Yale, I didn't go to Juilliard, I didn't know how to analyze a text. I didn't spend years studying Shakespeare. I mean, I always felt like I was catching up and holding on and, I like to say that I clawed my way to the middle. It was.
Is that, yeah, it's there's, it's you clawed your way to the middle. I don't think, like, for many people who achieve sort of like the highest markers in their career in terms of like honors of and whatever we can say, what with what we can attribute whatever type of gravitas merit to those awards that we want to, but for all intents and purposes, they're sort of the marker of like not just like the middle of a career, but yet for you, it's that's the framing that you have towards
it is. And I've spent a lot of money, on therapy to try, like if anybody else had the career I have, I would be envious of such a career.
Sure.
But that it's my career,
right?
It's less, it's the middle.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous. Even I recognize. But I want to say that, like, before this virus, before this lockdown, things were looking very good for me. The last few years, even I recognized that things were going well and that I had achieved a certain level of acknowledgement and that I didn't have to keep shoveling coal into the engine, that the engine was now running based on decades of shoveling. The last couple of years were really productive, and the work was just what I wanted. I mean, it wasn't second rate, second class work. Even I saw that.
So what do you say then to that voice?
Clawing myself to the middle voice.
Yeah. Whether it's yours or other young actors.
Oh, well, listen, if it's other young actors, if I were going to give advice, or if I would give advice to myself in the past, I guess I would say be kind to yourself. For starters, you don't know which job, which moment, which anything is the hook that moves people or things like that. I mean, to me, Yiddish, for example, was, like I worked in a porn house. I mean, I didn't tell anybody I did it. It was like I did a striptease, and that was my day job that I didn't tell anybody about, because I wanted to be seen as an American, and once Yiddish came into play, that's how I was identified. And that upset me very much. I didn't want to be identified. I don't care anymore. And Yiddish served me. It was exactly, I wanted a career like her, or like her, or like her. I didn't want a career like me. But in terms of, I can't now think of advice or what I would say to anybody. Or look, I look at photos, right? I look at photos from the past, and before I look at the photos, my memory of myself is, mediocre looking. It's all, mediocre. Like, where am I on the chart of attractive? Where am I on the chart of talented? Because I'm in comparison to the rest of the products that people are buying. I'm a commodity as a woman, as an artist. Where am I on that graph? And I always saw myself as less than everybody, less attractive, less talented. And I look at photos and I'm with someone else, another woman, and I thought she was the one. I was the friend of the pretty girl. But I look at the picture now and I think, what a false notion. And I'll listen to a CD from the past when I thought, I don't sing that well. I don't sing well. I'm not that good. And I listen and I think, well, Eleanor, that is good, darling. It is. And I'm so sorry for how I treated myself. I was so harsh and minimizing and judgmental, and like if I were to have a regret, Avram, that's my regret, that I missed myself. I didn't see my value or my worth. I was less than always. Ugh.
Thinking how powerful then, either now in retrospect, or also, if I can imagine into the moment of what it must have felt like when to be on Broadway and have your work recognized in that type of manner. You were bridging your worlds. You were bridging your worlds, and you were being acknowledged for that and the craft in which you were doing it. It's a pretty notable zach.
But I didn't.
You didn't feel it then?
I felt like a fraud. I felt like I had gotten it over on somebody. I didn't, and it pains me to say, and I'm ashamed to, I didn't enjoy it. I wasn't worthy. I didn't deserve it.
Who deserves it?
Somebody else.
Yeah. Not like the kid of Holocaust survivors, you know.
So I know that now a little bit. I mean, entitlement and the Holocaust issue of what is enough, what am I entitled to, what pleasure am I entitled to. It's a very powerful thing that still, after all these years, operates on me.
And you'll correct me if I'm overstepping or misstating, but it also seems like it also probably provides you with a sense of there must be some type of purpose or reward or pleasure also that accounting would not have filled for you.
I realize that I'm a storyteller so it's not about career. And it's, am I as good an actor? Am I as good a singer? No. I'm a story. So I'm just learning these last few years, Avram. I mean, so I'm a storyteller, whether I sing or whether I write or whether I direct or act. That's what I do. And it's definitely Holocaust based. It's definitely in some way, even if it's not a Holocaust story, those people in those photos that were no longer here. Something with them. What with them? Who was that? Always. Who was that? What did they do? You mean that was Golda Hanina's fourth sister? Oh, and what was her name? And and how did she die? Or so there were already those stories from those photos.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's actually what I am. I didn't know.
But you know it now.
I do. I'm sure I mean, I get anxious and stuff about like what's next now. It's a little hard to know what to do in this time. And, stories about COVID, I don't really want to tell any, I mean, I don't know. It's like life after the Holocaust. It's not the same. Life after COVID, it's not the same. It feels like a movie, like I'm in some surreal film. I don't know. I'm
It's so deep what you're saying. I'm thinking about how it's like compare and despair. There's always going to be something worse or something better. But if we can allow ourselves to sort of, soak up the moment of our lives, of whatever, there's a story there to be told, and it's only you or me, or it's only it's only those who are experiencing it who can really tell it, or tell it best. I think of like there's a Baal Shem Tov idea that like every person has a purpose, as a particular like tafkid, is a particular job that they're there for. So if that gig wasn't yours, then that it wasn't part of. Shalom Aleichem. You're coming to say hello. Say hi to Eleanor.
Hi. How are you?
Good.
I saw your experiment the other day.
What experiment is she talking about?
I mean, it was sometimes a scientist, you have to experiment.
Did you pour water in the bathroom the other day?
Maybe I shouldn't have mentioned it.
No, it's okay. It's the story of. Okay, goodbye. Um, that's I forget what we were talking about. Purpose, stories.
Yeah.
What was? You want to say hi? Do you know this is a good friend of your Zadie's too?
I love your Zadie and your Baba. What do we call Deb?
She's Nana.
Oh, Nana.
How did you meet his Zadie?
I met Zadie when Zadie turned on his 30th birthday. So that's how long I know Zadie.
Okay.
I met him on his 30th birthday at someone's house. They were having a party, and he was at the piano, and he was handsome and extremely lovely. And he heard that I was the person who from the Mary Stuart show, and that was the beginning of your Zadie. That was the beginning of my concert work with the Workman's Circle, doing, working for Yussel, and Zalman would play, and the whole, and Mina, the whole world,
Yeah.
the whole world of people. And I would say that's the greatest part of my life on a certain level, is that I knew those people. I was in the world when those people were in the world. That was extremely, yeah.
I live with their ghosts and shadows, Like I think about the things I would have loved even now to ask my Zeta about, who came from a religious home, but obviously was not. Just the questions I would have loved to sort of ask him about.
Yes. Yeah. Even though I know them, they're all gone, and I live with the shadows and ghosts too. But I'll tell you, Avram, you tied it all together, man.
I'm trying.
You're doing it.
Yeah.
You are, whether, that's what you're doing. However it kind of, whatever creation you may be making, indeed, you are tying together the work of God and the work of humanity and the work of art, and you're tying it together. I'm just saying that's your gig. And that's the gig that you created, and is inspiring, and gay pavola, and be kind to yourself, my friend, please, because it's a, I'm kind of where I was meant to be, even though I went kind of reluctantly and kicking and screaming. And you are so where you are meant to be, Yeah.
Strikes me though, because you talked about this, it's like, even if someone's holding up the mirror to you,
yeah,
like Sagunish Telfin, if you're not ready to, like, if you're not willing or able to, I don't know, see, accept, address, engage.
Yes. Well, and look, I'm still not as negative and self-diminishing as I've been, but I'm still not healthy in that regard, but maybe nobody is. And maybe that's the human condition, and that's the struggle between, it's just, that's the struggle of life. Seeing the, my mother could spot a blackhead on my face from miles away. She could see the tiniest dot on my nose and, come to get me and squeeze it out. That kind of A, love-ish, and B, sharpness of vision to detail and critical, the critical nature of that, of her spotting those blackheads, man. And I spot them too on myself.
Of course, because
but then there's the whole rest of the face.
Right. Sure.
So I mean, I'll talk to you anytime about it, because it's lohnt sich nicht. Life is cruel enough. It would be nice to overcome such a thing, or at least, knock it aside for more hours of the day than currently.
What are you reading these days? Or what's...
I'm working on another draft of my book, just to kind of hone it a little better. If this book gets published, I'm done. I mean, it is the expression. I mean, it's the expression of everything I ever wanted to say.
Wow.
So I have a lot of hope and wish for it. But I'm reading The New Yorker. I'm not really reading any books. I don't exactly know why. I'm spending way too much time on social media. And that's it. That's what I'm doing. Nothing exciting. I haven't read anything great to recommend, except before the pandemic, I read this Richard Holbrooke biography, which was great. But I'm not reading at the moment. Cookbooks.
Cookbooks. What did you make recently?
I made coq au vin. I made biscotti, delicious
Wow.
biscotti. Yeah, I mean, I want to say Dreck mit Leber, but it's not a nice thing to say. That's what we used to say. That's what when my mother would ask me, what do you want to eat? Dreck mit Leber.
Delicious.
Yes.
I want to thank you for coming on and sharing your heart. For me, you're such a teacher, because you are such a storyteller, and you've managed to do that in so many different mediums and ways, on stage, in story, and in song. And I can't wait to read your book.
Thank you. No, this is great. I'm always happy to talk to you, Avram.
Maybe we'll do another session when the book comes out.
Okay, don't threaten me. I'd love it.
Okay. Thanks, Eleanor.
Sei gesund und stark.
Much love.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.